So I think we all know that public cloud technologies are a somewhat simple way to get your IT infrastructure up and running. Now, there are a lot of unknowns around this. I'm going to focus today on why you may want to consider moving some of your infrastructure to a public cloud. Now, you really do need to involve a professional for this, but I'm simply going to focus on the positive reasons why you may want to consider this. First of all, when we think about public cloud technologies, we're thinking about things like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, VMware's vCloud, and even a lot of service providers and co-location providers will provide you with their own public cloud services as well. And the reason you may want to consider moving to those as opposed to purchasing your own data center, servers and storage and networking is, number one, because you eliminate your capital expenditure. It is definitely shifting all of your cost from CapEx to OpEx when you move to a public cloud solution. The public cloud solutions are going to be much more scalable and flexible than you can accommodate with your own hardware, unless you're really going to overbuild your environment, and then that's once again going to require a lot of capital expenditure. As we've talked about in another video, you can use leasing to help defray those capital expenditure costs, but you may not want to based on these other considerations. The fact that you don't have to buy any hardware, both the multiple layers of server, storage, and networking, also means that you don't have patching, you don't have maintenance, you don't have service agreements that you have to take into consideration when you own the hardware. That's a big chunk of what you're paying for those servers and storage and networking. You also don't have any power, you don't have any cooling, and maybe even more importantly, you don't have to have real estate. One of the most expensive things when it comes to IT equipment, I've always talked about in the past, is that that is some of the most expensive real estate that you have in your environment, is the space that you need for racks, power, cooling, as well as all the equipment. You also, depending upon how your provider licenses the environment to you, you may not have any licensing cost. That may be included in the fees that they are charging you for that infrastructure as a service, or this also kind of drifts over into platform as a service when the provider starts giving you that licensing in your cost. So a couple of good reasons to consider public cloud technologies. I'll dive into this in more detail and talk about Azure and AWS in another video, so check me out.